The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily the views of the WARE staff, management, or our sponsors.
Paid for by the committee to elect Deborah Boronsky for state senator at boronskyforsenate.com and is responsible for the content of this program.
Jobs are the number one solution to helping our communities get back on their feet. So what should we be doing now to get our economy moving? Taking Care of Business is a weekly show hosted by Deborah Boronsky, president of the Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce and candidate for state senate. Deborah will introduce local business owners and discuss what we should be doing to help them grow so they can hire more people. Now, here's Deborah.
Good afternoon and happy Friday to you, August 22nd. I can't believe that the summer has gone by so quickly. This is Deborah Boronsky, and I am your host for this afternoon show, Taking Care of Business. I am the president of the Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce and candidate for state senate in the 1st Camden, Hampshire district. And I started this show because I thought it was so very important for me to share, the trials and tribulations of small business people in our community, those people who are starting their companies to employ our brothers, our sisters, our daughters, our friends. Local businesses are the folks who are the answer to making our economy grow and become stronger. And so this show is dedicated to talking to business owners, but also people who work with businesses to provide jobs for people. And, who knows better than the local business people about what we need to do to grow and prosper and to get our economy back on the road. I do like to sway a little bit every now and then and have some different folks. A few weeks back I had Senator Don Humison on talking about what was going on at the State House. Today I have two very handsome gentlemen in the studio with me, and they're going to talk about the importance of jobs, and we're going to work back around as to why it's so important to support our small businesses. But with me today I have Sean Hemingway, who is the employment specialist for the Hampden County Sheriff's Department, and I have Will Rodriguez, a business development manager for FedCap. And both gentlemen are going to talk to you a little bit about what those programs are and what they do, and then we're going to circle back around to talking about our business community and how important it is for us to support them so they can create jobs for all people. So I'd like to start first with you, Sean. If you would just say hello to the folks that are listening and give them a little background about who you are and how you come to be where you are with the Sheriff's Department.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Hemingway, and I started my career at the Sheriff's Department back in 1997. So I'm going on my 17th year with the department. I started off my career as a correctional officer behind the walls, and that really helped enlighten me to the world of corrections and really gave me a sense on how I can make a difference and help people at the stage that they were in their lives. Having said that, my background is in human services administration with a minor in sociology from Springfield College. I went on to obtain my master's degree from Western New England College in criminal justice administration. So having said that, again, the well-rounded approach and realizing where people are at different stages of their life and knowing when you can reach out and help somebody and seeing the fruit of our work today is really magnificent.
So, as someone who hopes to be the next senator, one of the big focuses, the big areas that I like to focus on, not only on jobs, but, our communities and their safety. And obviously, there are a lot of people who talk to me about crime and keeping our cities safe. So you work with folks who may have been, committed a crime, and have gone to jail, have served their time, and are looking to re-enter the workforce. Is that correct?
Right. I work for the day reporting program, which ironically was the first day reporting program in the country. Sheriff Ash brought that model back from England in 1986. So every state in the country has come to Springfield to see our program. It started at the York Street Jail, and again, it's very, very powerful because we're helping people, all nonviolent offenders, re-enter back into society, helping them with all the wraparound services, helping them obtain employment, building their skills, and making them more marketable for the world of work so that they don't repeat. Let's face it, if a person doesn't have an employment opportunity by the time they're going back to society, they think society is going to give up on them. So they're going to go back to the same things they were doing before. And we don't want that to happen. We want to keep people out of jail. We want to make sure that people are working, paying their taxes, and doing the right thing.
Right. So you mentioned that, the folks that you're working with, the offenders that are re-entering the workforce, these are folks who probably, through one situation or another, were introduced to drugs or alcohol, maybe at a young age. Maybe they didn't have proper supervision, or perhaps someone had surgery and became addicted to the drugs that they were being given. Opiates are a big conversation right now, and the effect that they have. So these folks perhaps just had some unfortunate circumstances early in life, ended up incarcerated. But obviously, while you're in jail, you're receiving treatment and training.
Absolutely. 87% of people that are incarcerated today are there because of drugs or alcohol. So almost 9 out of every 10 people. It's a staggering statistic. Drugs and alcohol, they do not discriminate. And if a person is under the influence, they're more apt to commit a crime and pay the price for committing that crime. Now, Sheriff Ash really believes on planning for release upon entry. So what we did is we implemented a portfolio system. This was brought back from a conference back in Colorado, and it's very, very powerful because this portfolio allows the inmates while they're in there to start planning for their release upon entry. If they go to welding, carpentry, if they're going for their GED, it's now called HiSET. All these are very powerful because once they get out, their portfolio is being built, and what happens when that portfolio is built, they can prove to the person on the other side of the table that, hey, listen, this is what I've been doing. Yes, I made some poor choices, but this is what I've been doing since then to build my credibility, build my skill sets, and get off on the right foot.
Right. Now, we've all made poor choices in our life, and some of us, who have made poor choices have been lucky not to have, been in a situation where you had to pay the price. Perhaps you got lucky and someone helped you. As a young person growing up, some parents aren't as available to oversee what's going on a daily basis than others. And so I can see very clearly that people can make some tough choices. And I think it's very important that we offer people the opportunity to come back to work and be productive citizens. Talk a little bit about the gentleman that's sitting next to you, because I want to talk about how you work with employers and moving people out into the community. And perhaps, Will, you'd like to introduce yourself? I don't know if this is a good time to tie in that you're both sitting here.
Good afternoon. My name is Will Rodriguez. I'm the business developer for FedCap, which FedCap is an organization that helps out individuals with disabilities. And they have it's been established since 1935, and they have 2 organizations very well known in Boston and New York. In Boston, it's called a Community Work Service, and in New York, it's called Wildcats. And they help individuals that's been either handicapped or coming off of welfare or some sort of disabilities. So they hired me to work work in this area, Western Massachusetts, to get businesses to and open up the doors to these individuals. So now we're exploring the options with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department and see if there's something down the road that we can work together.
Right, because when I was reading the description about FedCap, your description of who you serve, it's not disabled, it's not mentally retarded.
No.
It's what was the description? It's people who are people with barriers.
People with barriers.
So
that's the proper word.
People with barriers, and so that really encompasses a lot of people. People who are trying to find a job after with a criminal record. People who are disabled. People who have been homeless or on welfare. So barriers really encompasses great deal. So you're trying to partner in some way and see if you can't work together, the two programs, to benefit each other.
Yes, exactly.
That's excellent.
And it's been working quite well, and I think we have a good relationship, and I'm seeing a lot of success with it.
That's great. So let's say I'm a small manufacturer, and you want, let's go through a role play here. You're making an appointment to talk to me about hiring someone. Why would I work with you to hire someone who has been incarcerated and looking to re-enter the workforce? What is your reason behind contacting me? Let's try that.
Sure. So the first thing we would do, Deborah, is basically go into a company and find out exactly what the job description would be. And once we see that job description, we can go ahead and assess our pool of candidates and get a really good understanding of how we can best job match for the employer's needs. Having said that, it's a relational model. Your company is going to get to know our program. We're going to get to know you. It definitely works. I'm going to use this. We have permission to use their name. So Hampton Farms, they're the largest in-shell peanut growing distribution company in the United States. We brought them up to our restaurant over at the Stick Industrial Park called the Old Armory Grill. We showed them how we serve safe certify people. We showed them how, our population needs to get to work every day on time, so the reliability is there. And while I'm on that topic, reliability is one of the single most important things an employer is looking for. So if you hire from us, you know that Mary or John are going to be at work first thing Monday morning, and they're going to stay till 4 o'clock on, Friday afternoon. So it's very important, the reliability factor. And again, once we get to know the company, we get to get a better feel of what they're looking for, the culture of the company. We kind of go in there and kick the tires and make sure that we can provide them with the best possible candidate to fill that position. And if we don't have anybody, what we're going to do is basically tell them, hey, I'm sorry, but we don't have anybody for you right now. Right. So that's important also. We want to be honest with the employers and let them know that. So it's a really fun situation when you can have a win-win situation that we're working with.
That's great. I'm wondering, what is the average age? I'm learning a great deal while we talk here. So I'm wondering about what the average age is of someone who becomes, you're talking about drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
Being 87% of the folks that are incarcerated, it's because of drugs and alcohol. And so in my mind, I tend to think that they're young people, but that's not necessarily
They are.
true.
On average, we've got a 25-year-old with about a 6th, 7th grade education. But having said that, we work with all different walks of life. We've had pilots on the program, airline pilots on the program. We've had doctors, lawyers, nurses. Drugs and alcohol do not discriminate. It goes across, the board. So we're really careful as to, who we're working with, making sure that they're getting the services and programs in place first so that we can further develop them on their transition out for their reentry into the employment world, and make sure that we don't drop them. After they're completed with us, we have an aftercare program that it could be 10 years down the road, they could call us up and we're going to support them fully in whatever way we can, with housing, with helping them, secure medical benefits and things like that.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back and keep talking about what great things are going on in our community to help folks who are in need. Thank you.
This is John Mayberry, president of Mayberry Material Handling. Established in 1976, we are Southern New England's largest one-source supplier of Crown forklifts, racking, shelving, dock and door equipment, and much, much more. We offer new products, rental, service, parts, installation, and custom welded solutions. 2014 is bringing growth for us, so we are interviewing now for road, forklift mechanics, and sales professionals in the Springfield, Hartford, New Haven areas. You can contact us at Mayberry.com. That's MAYBURY.com, or email jobs@Mayberry.com.
How many times do you see a politician and realize they just don't get it? That's why Deborah Boronsky is running for state senate. Deb's not a politician. She's a successful businesswoman who founded local and regional chambers of commerce to fight for businesses and families in Western Mass. Deb truly understands that high taxes, government waste, and ineffective spending are the things that are preventing our economy from growing. So let's send Deborah Boronsky to Beacon Hill. Deborah will listen to us because she's one of us, and we deserve to be heard. Paid for by the committee to elect Deborah Boronsky.
Welcome back to Taking Care of Business. This is Deborah Boronsky, and I am your host for this afternoon show. I am the president of the Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce, and I am also a candidate for state senate in the 1st Camden, Hampshire district. Yes, that's right. I would like to be your next state senator. For those of you who don't know, the 1st Camden, Hampshire district is East Longmeadow, Hamden, Wilbraham, Belchertown, Granby, Ludlow, and parts of Chicopee and Springfield. I feel strongly that the way to improve our economy, which is what we all talk about, isn't it? We talk about the need to improve our economy and get jobs. And I really feel so strongly that the way we need to do that is to support our local business community. Folks, in Western Massachusetts, more than 80% of the jobs that we see created here are from small, local-owned companies. I myself am a small business owner. I started my own management company 4 years ago, and today I employ 4 fabulous ladies. And, you know, they're all making well more than minimum wage, but it's not easy making a decision to start your own company and venture off into the world of being an employer. It's also difficult because there are lots of rules and regulations that we have to follow, and just because you're good at doing one thing doesn't mean that you are good at following so many of the regulations that are placed upon us as employers. And I think we need to make it much easier to be someone who wants to start a company, support those people, encourage them so that they can grow their business and hire more people. And I'm chatting today with 2 very nice men. One is Will Rodriguez. Will is with the business development. He's the business development manager for FedCap, and FedCap is an organization that provides services and support for people who are people with barriers. And I really like that. People with barriers. We all have barriers, don't we?
Sure do.
One way or another. And so this organization exists to support those people. There's financing behind that support. And he's joined today with Sean Hemingway. And Sean is an employment specialist with the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. And we were just chatting about the fact that 87% of the folks that are incarcerated today are incarcerated because of drugs and alcohol. That is not something that I was aware of, and I'm really shocked. It really speaks volumes to where we need to be spending some more of our time. If we want to keep our jails less full, we need to spend some time on how we keep people getting involved with the drug and alcohol process. And there's a lot of talk right now about the opiate situation and alcohol abuse. We've been talking about your role, Sean, in helping those people develop a portfolio. The day that they're incarcerated, they begin planning for their release, which I think is fabulous. Mm-hmm. And you have a wonderful program to help people start planning for their release and planning for their life after incarceration, and that's to help them find a job. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit more about how we go about doing that?
Absolutely. You know, the Sheriff Ash really believes in keeping people occupied 40 hours a week of constructive activity. It doesn't matter where they are. It could be at the main institution. It could be at our Howard Street facility. It could be at our WCC facility in Chicopee. It doesn't matter. They're going to groups and programs, and they're trying to, you know, understand their deficiencies and build upon those deficiencies so that they don't relapse and get back into the same predicament that they were before. We've done 80,000 of hours of community service consistently over the years for different municipalities. We have 20 crews in the community, giving back to the community, making sure that, you know, we're beautifying the community. We're partnering with nonprofit agencies, making sure that we can, you know, provide good work situations for people and help them transition into the world of employment once they're ready. So when I first started back in 1997, you know, I met Rich Devine, and he's our employment director. And Rich Devine, you may or may not know, wonderful man. He really enlightened me because I came in with a human service view, and I saw Rich, and the first place we went to was an employer, and we met Liza, and Liza gave him a big hug and said, "Rich, I'm so happy to see you. I need 2 people to start working on Monday." And that blew me away. I'm like, this is wonderful. You know, people are willing to give people an opportunity and rely on us to help them fill their employment positions.
Right. That's a really nice story. I'll tell you, last week my guest was Ken Pinsence from Norpin Manufacturing. And for folks who are listening or who listen regularly, one of my first jobs was with Sunshine Village, and my job was to find jobs for people with disabilities. So I have a real sense of the pride you have in doing the job that you do, because people who have barriers, not necessarily always their fault, but you want to overcome those barriers. And Ken was the first employer that I met who actually hired someone. I knocked on his door and said, I work for Sunshine Village and I'm trying to find jobs for people. And he hired a gentleman from Ludlow. And I hadn't seen Ken in 32 years, and he saw me waving on the street corner with my sign, Deborah for Senator, and he said, geez, she looks familiar. 32 years.
Wow.
I want to talk about karma, right?
That's
and
great.
having things come back around. And he actually pulled over and said, gee, you look familiar. And lo and behold, it was Ken. And he said, Paul is the gentleman that I placed with him all those years ago. He said, Deborah, Paul just retired. So Paul had been working there for 32 years.
Wow.
Now, I have to say, I get a little choked up because I feel so proud that as a result of the work that I was able to do, I changed his life.
Yeah.
And you can see that it means a great deal. So you must get a great sense of accomplishment.
We've gone to some sites and businesses, and they come around and they remember Sean. Sean had placed him, a couple years ago? We went to the restaurant the other day. 4 years ago. Tell them that story there.
So the restaurant owner was a little apprehensive, and I was going over the hiring incentives and letting them know that, hey, listen, there's a $5,000 hiring incentive. It's called the Hiring Incentive Training Grant. Basically, just so I don't mess it up, I'll read it from the paper here. Employers are eligible for a $5,000 cash grant up to $40,000 a year. So you can hire 8 people per year. All they have to do is work 180 days for your company, and they have to be unemployed for more than 6 months or make less than $2,400 within a 6-month period. And 100% of our population qualifies for that. And there's also, I was telling the employer, a work opportunity tax credit, which is $2,400 per hire, and all the employee would have to do is work 400 hours for your company. So I'm going through all this, and I'm talking about the reliability, and Will's with me, and we're having a good conversation, and I could see he wasn't quite buying it yet. And he goes, something, I'll give you a shot. I talked about our restaurant. I say, hey, listen, we can assess somebody for you. We can job match them. He goes, all right, I need a line cook. He goes, let's see what you got. I'll give you 2 weeks to get me a line cook. So as we're getting up from the table, I still felt maybe it was a sympathy thing, but I still felt like he wasn't quite buying it. And I looked up and I saw Jill, and she was cleaning the table next to me. And I looked up, Jill, holy mackerel! I go, how long you been here? She goes, 4 years. I go, see, hey, look, here's one of them. I remember I was here before.
Here's one of them. So Jill was previously incarcerated, and you placed her.
Exactly.
Ran into the restaurant.
And she was on the table right next door, and I told the owner, and he goes, oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
Oh,
so we all left there with smiles. It was great.
Very good.
Yeah, so
and Jill's doing well.
She's doing excellent. Yeah.
See, that's just a great story.
That's a great story. I was impressed. That's one of the reasons it's giving me motivation, is to see all these individuals working and struggling, and it just gives me more reason. The owner, what happened? I saw him on Saturday morning, and I told him about the program. So I said, okay, Sean and I are going to go in and talk to you about it. And it turned out that this individual, this young lady, was cleaning the table right next to us, and she's so happy to see Sean. It's a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. I love stories like this. I think it's important to point out to folks, and this helps me bring things back around. You're not trying to take jobs away from other people.
No.
Which makes me just reiterate how important it is that we help our small businesses grow, because the more we can help them, the more jobs they can create, and everyone needs a job. I believe that the best social program, and is a job, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what motivates.
How do you feel when you're not working? How do you feel when you're unemployed? Your self-esteem is very low. You don't feel good about yourself. You're under a lot of stress and anxiety. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Plus, you're also helping the economy too. It's an economical development. we have more people working, more money to spend, and it helps out other small businesses also.
That's right. More money in my pocket means more money being spent at the local businesses.
That's right.
I absolutely agree with that. So I was at an event last night. Very generous friends of mine put together a little meet and greet, they call them, at their home, and they invited a handful of friends and business acquaintances in the area. And I was talking about my radio show because there was a woman who owns a local business in town. She's in East Longmeadow, and she said, "Oh, I own this company." And I said, "Oh, I know about you." I said, "I'll have to have you on my show." She said, "That would be great." I said, "Yes, tomorrow I have Sean and Will from the Sheriff's Department." She said, I know Sean. He's great." I said, "You know Sean?" She says, "Yes. I hire people from them." As I said, "You do?" She said, "Yes. As a matter of fact, I just hired someone." I said, "How is it working out?" Because she said, "He is working out fabulously." So I thought, again, talk about a small world, right?
Yeah.
I just met this woman last night. She lives in my town. She runs a small manufacturing company. She loves you. And you placed someone there, and she says it's working out beautifully.
Yeah, wonderful people, a great company to work for, very, very family oriented. It's just a good situation for everybody, and that's what I meant about when I said the win-win, because Tina's happy, the employer's happy, and it's a good situation.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Will, why don't you talk a little bit about how you went, your background? I mean, so you're running FedCap. You're not right out of college. Not that you look old by any means, but you're not right out of college. So how did you come to be doing the work that you're doing?
Actually, my background's in sales, and I'm also, there was a short time I worked with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's when I crossed over to human services, and this opportunity came up, and I said, this is a great time, jump on board and see what I can do. I'm also the president of the Westfield Spanish American Association, which we've been established since 1995. And in our organization, we have given over $56,000 in scholarship towards Latino students from the Westfield, Massachusetts, and returning students. And next year coming, we're going to be celebrating 20 years.
That's amazing.
It is, and it's been a long struggle, but it's been worth it. And we're going to be celebrating 20 years next year. And the only way we get our money is from the golf tournament, and we give it back to the students. And there's been a lot of successful students coming out of Westfield and businesses, and thanks to WASA, we have contributed some of that.
I wish Westfield, Don Humison is the senator out that area. He's a great guy, but Westfield is a great city.
It is.
It's really a lovely city. They have a real thriving Main Street area, and you're right. It's a great area. Didn't you mention to me that you were looking to start another chapter of this organization? Am I mistaken?
We're in the process of starting some other organization called Western Mass Scholarship. We don't have a name yet, but I'm working with Norman Roldan, and this is going to be for students, for everybody. All in Western Massachusetts. It's going to be open not only to Latinos, but other children that need scholarships. And I'm working with Norman Roldan and Freddie Vasquez in this aspect of the scholarships.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So, what areas do you cover with regard to finding employment? What is your scope? How far do you travel, and what area are you looking for regarding employers and placing people?
Generally in the Hamden County area. I have been down to as far south as Bridgeport, Connecticut. But typically our population needs to stay within the Massachusetts boundaries. When we're working with a federal person, meaning somebody under a federal sentence, they can leave the state of Massachusetts for work purposes, but generally reside in the Springfield area. So we're all over, we're going to go where the jobs are. We're lucky as far as transportation. PVTA is great if we can get a job on a bus route. Many times people's licenses are suspended for a certain amount of time, so that is a barrier. But I'll tell you, Deborah, the biggest barrier that we really need to look at are our criminal record checks. I mean, there's policies that companies have, and typically silent policies, that they're doing background checks to operate a piece of machinery for $8.75 an hour. And there's one company in particular, they're not only doing background checks, they're doing credit reports, and they're also doing driving checks. And the position doesn't require any type of driving, but they say it shows a person's character. Well, again, we talked about different struggles people have in their lives and things like that. People do change, and we see that every single day. We see the success stories. That East Long Meadow company, that person working there is doing phenomenal. And I've known him for quite some time now. And he has changed, and he's raising his family, and things are going very well. So, again, we're trying to train to employers' needs. Our pre-employment training program goes over a lot of aspects. All of our job searchers have to qualify, meaning that they have to go through training programs and classes. They have to have a completed resume. We partner with the area one-stops such as Career Point and FutureWorks, so they've been a tremendous asset to us. We're also partnering with the REB. We're members of the EDC.
So REB is a Regional Employment Board. That's
acronyms.
Okay, I knew what
the
it was.
The Regional Employment
Yes.
Board and the Economic Development Council, things like that. We're all partners. We do belong to the Chamber of Commerce, and we try to go to as many meetings as possible because we need to network. Right. We don't have billboards up on 91, advertising we're here and all these incentives.
Yeah,
exactly. It is word of mouth, and we try to get out there and be discreet and let the employers know that, hey, we're here to assist you if you need us.
Yeah. I've heard similar challenges with people. It's a different story, but it's along the same lines. A young man who I think he took his parents' car without permission and then went out and had some drinks and got himself into trouble as a young person. And that was the end of that. And then he went into the service where they handed him a gun, and he went to war for us, and he fought for his country and came home, and then he went to 2 or 3 more tours. But he's home now, and they won't let him get a permit to carry a gun because he has a record. But they'll let him go to war and shoot a gun to protect us.
How ironic. Yeah.
So, when you commit a crime, you should pay for that crime. And when you've paid for that crime, then you've paid your dues, and you should be allowed to move on. Committing a crime again, perhaps you don't get that same chance, but everyone makes a mistake, and that really broke my heart. I am in favor. I am a Second Amendment. I am pro Second Amendment. I believe it's your right. I have my license to carry. I do not choose to. I don't want to carry a gun. I don't want to, but I could if I wanted to. It's just my right. I went through the process so that when I tell someone I am pro Second Amendment, I can tell them firsthand experience that I went through an 8-hour training class at Holyoke Revolvers Club, passed my test, that I actually applied, I was fingerprinted. I went through the whole process so that I can speak from experience what it takes to become certified and be allowed to carry. But for this young man, his story, it broke my heart. I met him when I was at the Granby Charter Days, and he came up and he said, "Can you do something?" He's like the military man with his kids, and he said, "It just doesn't seem fair. Why can I have a gun to protect our country, but you won't let me have my license to carry because I was a stupid kid, took my parents' car and made a stupid mistake. I paid." So it just doesn't seem right.
The fact of the matter is, and I thank my dad and my mom for this, is they said, don't ever get a record. Don't ever pick up a record because it's going to affect you the rest of your life. I never understood that growing up as a child, but now I'm working with people who've committed things 25, 30 years ago, and they're still being, haunted by that. Absolutely. And that's the fact of the matter. And they're paying for something for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah, that just doesn't seem fair. And I think some of our laws, they're antiquated. And I think that you have to take things on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
Certainly it's scary to think about having someone who was in jail come to work for you or live next to you. But again, if you could paint the picture, you said 87% of the folks that are incarcerated are there because they've abused alcohol or drugs. Now, let's all just reflect on the people we know and love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's all look at our family and our friends and our cousins and our aunts and their cousins, and what do we see around us? There are a lot of people who have issues.
I think a lot of people can identify, and that's a great analogy that you just made. A lot of people can identify with a family member who is struggling at one point in their life or another.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. This radio station, obviously, I started it because I wanted to introduce myself to folks. It's a great way for me. I like to talk, too. But it's a great way for me to get my message out. And it's a great way to educate people. As I do every show, even though I think I know who my guests are, every time we have a conversation, even though I know what we're going to talk about, I am educated. And I hope that's what's happening for the folks that are listening. I hope that, as we chat with my various guests throughout the weeks, that you're learning a little something about what your local community is doing, what we're trying to do to make our communities better. We have a lot of people in the jail. How many people are... This is the Ludlow Jail.
Yeah.
How many people do we have?
Our count's going down. The last quite a few years, it continues to go down, and we like to think that because of all the good work that we're doing in the community, we're putting people to work. This year, we had a historic year. We placed 605 people in full-time positions. No other sheriff's department in the state has been doing what we're doing. So, we have to give a lot of credit to the Sheriff Ash and exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. He's allowed us to go out there and blaze trails that we've never blazed before. I'm out there talking to employers every day and making them aware of all the incentives and all the benefits from partnering with us. So it's really, really it's good work. It's hard work, but at the end of the day, it's very, very rewarding. I could put my head down on my pillow every night and basically rest easy because we're doing some phenomenal things out there that nobody else is doing. Last year we placed 512 people. Again,
wow.
Another great year. But again, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So that is an amazing statistic. 600. You placed 600 people this year. People have paid their dues, put their plan together when they were incarcerated. They had their plan for release, and 605
They had their
people.
release plan. That we connected them to our aftercare program. They transitioned through our facility, and we captured them. When the doors open, there was somebody there to greet them at the other end, to give them direction and help them on their way, on their journey. Because if you don't do that, they're going to get lost.
Right.
I watched a show one day, and the institution didn't even help them get their identifications. So the first time that they went to go get a job, they basically said, okay, I need 2 forms of ID. I don't have them. Well, how do I get those? We help them to get that.
So they're ready to be successful when they walk out the door.
Everything's in their portfolio: identifications, resume, shirts and ties, blouses, business attire. They're ready to rock and roll, and they're going to hit the street running, and they're not going to hit any barriers.
We're going to talk about some success stories, I hope, when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Like to help Deborah Boronsky get elected. She's always looking for good people to make calls, knock on doors, help with sign standouts, and yes, make donations. If you want to help Deborah with her campaign, you can sign up on her website at BoronskyForSenate.com or give her a call today at 413-231-2225. That's 413-231-2225. Help Deborah win this election by donating your time and talent today.
This is John Mayberry, president of Mayberry Material Handling. Established in 1976, we are Southern New England's largest one-source supplier of Crown forklifts, racking, shelving, dock and door equipment, and much, much more. We offer new products, rental, service, parts, installation, and custom welded solutions. 2014 is bringing growth for us, so we are interviewing now for road, forklift mechanics, and sales professionals in the Springfield, Hartford, New Haven areas. You can contact us at Mayberry.com. That's MAYBURY.com, or email jobs@Mayberry.com.
Gentlemen, And hello, welcome back. This is Deborah Boronsky, your host for Taking Care of Business, a weekly talk show that is used to introduce you to local business owners so you have a chance to learn what they're doing and what we can do to help them create jobs and make our community better. I'm the president of the Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce. Prior to that, for more than 20 years, I've run more than 7 chambers of commerce in the Western Mass area. So I've had the privilege of meeting many business owners and folks that work for larger businesses. And I know firsthand the struggle that businesses have in trying to just, day to day maintain their companies, meet their payroll, and continue to grow their businesses so they can stay successful. I like to break it up a little bit, and today I brought 2 guests in to talk about what they do in working with local businesses. I have Will Rodriguez, who is the Business Development Manager for FedCap, which is an organization that provides support and funding to help people who have barriers re-enter the workforce. And I have Sean Hemingway, who is the Employment Specialist for the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. And we've been chatting about, when people are incarcerated, the minute they walk in, they have a plan for release. And it's a really impressive what we're doing in our jail to get people out the minute they get in. And that's not just to say get out, but to prepare them to be successful when they walk out. We also talked about the fact that 87% of the folks that are there because of drug and alcohol incidences. And folks, that's just shocking. And the good news is, Sean just mentioned that last year, 605 people were not only released, but into full-time, good paying jobs, so that they re-entered the workforce. They had a job, and that's a tremendous statistic. I'm very impressed. What are the success rates of the folks who are leaving and getting jobs? Do you have any information on that?
Well, the past year or so, we started a retention specialist. Her name's Kathy Lakota, and she's been doing a wonderful job tracking people with 30, 60, 90-day reviews. So the numbers are coming in as we speak. I can tell you from personal experience that, I receive phone calls all the time from past people that we place. Hey, Sean, this is Joe or Sam, and I'm still here doing a good job. And they really appreciate that you go out on a limb for them to advocate with different employers so that you can, again, make that job match. And I really want to stress that job match, because we're not going to take a person and put, Johnny or Jennifer over at ABC company just because there's an opening. We want to make sure that they have the aptitudes, they've got the skill sets, and they've got, what it takes to make it at that job.
I know before we finish up for the day, I always like to ask the business people who are sitting with me, what can we do on a state level? I want to be the next senator. So when I'm sitting in Boston and agreeing on various pieces of legislation that impact everyone, it's important for me as a lawmaker to make sure that I've talked to everyone who that may impact. And I think that's one of the things that we don't do enough of in Boston. When a decision is being made, you need to have a broad perspective of what impact that's going to have on all constituents, not just businesses, not just residents, not just one city or town. Right. And that certainly is a hard thing to do. And you talked with me, and I wanted you to have an opportunity to share your feelings and opinions about the quarry checks and what impact that has on your ability to do your job. Just share with folks, what it is that you think needs to change, or what you would like employers to consider, so that you can speak your concerns.
Like we talked about during the commercial, for a bus driver, absolutely, positively do quarry checks for situations like that. But as far as operating a piece of machinery, third shift at a peanut company, why are you going to do a quarry check for that type of situation? Is public safety at risk? No. So it's just if companies are doing these Corey checks, and I've seen it from personal experience, they're not hiring a person because of the wordage, the verbiage under their name, and they don't know how to read the codes. Corey was designed for law enforcement. Okay, so what happens is you have all these acronyms. NP, null pros. Do they really know what that means? Probably not, because they weren't trained accordingly. And a lot of times companies are getting the same level access as the criminal justice field, because they're paying a third party to get that access. So again, people don't know this, but it's happening every day, and it's negating a huge population of people from securing full-time employment. And those people are going to get frustrated, and they're going to go back to doing the same things they're going to be doing before, which isn't good for anybody.
So I'm confused about this report. So the Corey checks were started for law enforcement.
And then what happened is, because of Freedom of Information Act, we have access to all different types of situations. Connecticut, you can Google a person's name and pull up their record. Luckily Massachusetts isn't that bad yet, but we're getting to it, and we've got to be careful, because again, we're not allowing a lot of people to secure employment because of a background check that might have happened 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Right. It would seem to me, and I don't know enough about this, so I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to put the opposite hat on, just to have for argument's sake. If I'm going to hire someone, I might want to know that they've been arrested. I might want to know that, but I guess what you're saying is, if I'm just reading a report, if you were arrested because you were a stupid kid and you stole your parents' car, and went out and drank too many beers,
it might say Grand Theft Auto. So now you're seeing
it would say Grand Theft Auto, and I would think something differently about the person.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're seeing the cover of the book, but you're not allowed to read the content.
Well, that's a great analogy. I love analogies. So you're allowed to see the cover of the book, but you're not allowed to see the content. Yep. So as an employer, I guess I'm saying, well, geez, I think I might want to know when I'm hiring someone. I ask them, for references, and I want them to, I want to know all about them. So I'm the employer, and so if I'm able to go and see that they had a record, I would want to inquire more about that, and not just know. So is there a way that we can solve the problem so that perhaps I, with freedom of information, I'm allowed to understand, but at the same time I get to read the book and not just the cover?
Right now, as of November in 2012, there was something in the law that says that they cannot ask on the application whether or not you've been convicted of a felony or not, but the employers can ask it during the interview. And that's where we really coach our participants, our job seekers, to talk about your situation, explain what happened. But
Right.
a lot of times it doesn't make it that far, because the background check has already been completed, and before you know it, they already say, okay, Sean already has a Corey, he's got a background, and I really don't understand this, but since he has some verbiage under his name, let's take Will instead, because his Corey came back clean. And in reality, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not getting all of the information.
Exactly.
And you are then, in fact, keeping perhaps some good people from getting a job. I think the same stigma goes along with people who are disabled. That people are concerned about their abilities or inabilities, and until you take the chance to. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to jump in there. You just said that. I was working with Oscar. This was 4 years ago, and he was in jail before. He worked for a pallet company down in Connecticut, and I called his supervisor and said, "Hey, how is Oscar for a worker?" He was tremendous with us. His motivation level, his attitude was great. And what happened was, I went to a friend who owned a pallet company, and I said, "Hey, let's consider this person. Any consideration you could provide him would be great." So what happened was, I brought over the resume, brought him over for an interview. "Yeah, Sean, not right now. I went back 3 times. I finally got him in there. This was 4 years ago. Oscar's there today, 4 years later, with a handicapped left hand. He had a stroke when he was a little boy, had a handicapped left hand. He's producing more pallets than his other workers, and Will's seen this firsthand, and he's the most reliable employee that he has. He's there every day to work, and it's just a wonderful success story, and we have many others like that.
I enjoy success stories like that. So I want to reiterate how important it is, again, for us to support our local businesses, because everyone deserves a job. Everyone who wants to work should be able to work. And everyone who is able to work should be working. And by allowing our businesses the opportunity to grow and prosper without undue taxing and regulation, we can do that. We can do that, and we can do the important work that you're doing by helping people who have made mistakes re-enter their communities and become productive citizens. Next week, my guest is Gina Golash from Sunshine Village, who works with a different population, but they have barriers nonetheless. Okay. And I think it's important for us to remember this is all part of making our communities a better place. You know, I run chambers of commerce, and a chamber of commerce exists to make their communities better places to live, work, raise a family, and run a business. And let's face it, folks, we have people who have barriers that belong to our community, and we need to incorporate and integrate people into our communities as beautifully as we can do that. And by working with organizations like we have here with the Sheriff's Department and FedCap, and with folks like Sunshine Village, we can embrace all the differences in the people that are in our communities and help them to be successful contributors in our communities. And again, I say it all encompasses working with our business community and helping them so that they can help us. I want to thank both of you for being my guests today. You've been very educational and very articulate.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And I just want to let folks know, if you'd like to know more about me, you can go to my website, which is boronskiforsenate.com, or give me a call on my cell phone, 413-231-2225. Until next week, I will look forward to speaking with you on Friday. So you have yourself a great weekend. Thank you so much.